sure you've heard it all said, go big or go home. Well, I'm at home, but I'm not going to go big this time. In fact, I'm going to do quite the opposite. Next couple of builds here, we're going to be working with the Mecha, or at least some of the Mecha kits from Bandai from Space Battleship Yamato. We've got here the original edition of the kit, which is one of the earliest Mecha I know about. And then we have the much more recent $21.99 version of the Yamato and the 2202 version of the Andromeda. Now, we've got, first thing we're going to see here is a contrast in what they can do with these kits. This is the original Yamato. As you can see, it's all molded in one color. And the wave cannon is actually molded in halves into as part of the bow. The main engine and the fins are separate. You still got most of the detail here, though. Now, moving to the $21.99 Yamato, the first change you see is we have more sprue, and they're in different colors. In fact, we've got 2 different colors of sprue, which will make painting almost not required. The main engine fins are molded onto the main engine, and right here, I'm not going to try to get closer because I'll lose the focus, is the wave cannon molded as a separate piece to stick on the bow. Now, next up, we've got the Andromeda, and when you look at the sheer number of pieces and what they've done with the pieces at this size, I'm flat out impressed just by what they've done. This one also stands out in the fact that it has decals. Although you do have to be careful with that set because they're printed onto one piece of decal film. So if you're opting to use the decals on this one, you will need to cut very close to your decals. All in all, build-wise, I mean, the Andromeda is going to need a little bit of paint to like accent the nose and the bridge tower and the guns. The $21.99 Yamato will probably not need a whole lot in the way of paint. And then, of course, I've got to do the red for the original version Yamato. Build-wise, these shouldn't take a lot. Paint-wise, they won't take a lot. So, I'm going to shut up and get started. All right, now, my old eyes, one issue I've got with these kits is the fact that the instructions are printed on the inside of the box tops. As you can see, diagrams can get quite complex, and we're talking something that, you know, there are my fingers. You know, these box tops are only a couple of inches, you know, maybe 3 inches across. So, to avoid having to squint, and especially with things like the decal instructions, I split the tops open, scanned them in, and printed them out at something much more resembling a legible resolution. These are 8.5 by 11 sheets. As you can see, These are much easier to read. So that should make my life easier as far as building these things goes. All right, as you can see, I've done some pre-painting here, namely the red on the original Yamato, and then the tan on the forward guns, bow tip, and bridge of the Andromeda. It may not look like much, but it's progress. All right, here we have the assembly completed, at least. Original version of the Yamato. I haven't put on the what would have been the seaplane catapults, mostly because I didn't feel like fiddling with them. But, you know, this one's only about 4 or 5 inches long. And some of the fit issues, it shows its age. This is definitely the oldest of the three. But all in all, it still looks pretty good. I need to go in and do some filing in a couple of areas. And then we'll put a wash over and see what we've got. All right, what you can see here, raw plastic. I haven't done any weathering or any washes to help bring out the detail in her. But what we have here is the $21.99 version of the Space Battleship Yamato. And even without the wash, you can see the hordes of detail they have packed into this model. I would point out that, you know, here's one of my paint brushes, and yeah, she's tiny. But she is packed with as much detail as a model twice her size. Bandai never ceases to amaze me with these. All right, at this point, construction is complete on the Andromeda. I would like to point out that nearly everything, every major detail that's present on the 1/1000th scale version is present on this one. Right down to the, it doesn't want to focus, right down to the indents on the wave cannons, the individual barrels, all the fins. Of course, it, you know, like the other two, it still needs to be blackwashed a little to help bring out some detail. But all in all, it was a fairly quick build, and I'm impressed with the detail in this little guy. Okay, at this point, admittedly, I didn't have a lot left to do on these little guys, but I've gone in, done a little bit of black wash, and put the markings on the Andromeda, and also improvised some for the $21.99 Yamato using decals from the Andromeda sheet. So what we got, going from left to right there, is the original version of the Yamato, the $21.99 version of the Yamato, and the 2022 version of the Andromeda. As you can see, the black wash did help bring out the detail in the ships fairly well. The markings, as it turned out, actually were peel and stick. The only ones that actually had the cuts for them were the ones for the Andromeda, although the sheet did also contain markings for the Achilles and for the Aldebaran. Using the markings for the Achilles, I added the white markings to the side of the 2199 Yamato. And of course, there are no markings on the classic Yamato. As you can see, detail in these things is just incredible. I mean, that's my index finger for scale. Build time for each, somewhere around 25 to 45 minutes, largely because despite their size, there are a lot of parts involved. And in the case of the classic Yamato, it's also a glue kit. But, we got our wave cannon. Markings, like I said. Only a little bit of detail painting. And main engines. All in all, these look really good, pretty much out of the box. The only painting the Andromeda needed was the light tan on a couple of the details. There is no painting on Yamato, and of course the classic Yamato wound up with the all the red parts having to be hand painted. Now, I'm going to stop babbling, and I'll get some stills of these ships taken and throw them at the end of this. Thank you all for watching.